What's happening, family? So today we're gonna go over readings, what goes into a reading, what exactly is a reading, and we're gonna also get into more in-depth aspects of it. So even if you're somebody that's been doing readings, um, definitely we're gonna go more in depth about certain aspects in this video. So let's get into it. When we're talking about readings, we're actually talking about what's called divination. Okay? So a reading is actually divination. And you go to someone that's a diviner to get it done. So what is divination, right? The definition of divination. The practice of attempting to foretell future events or discover hidden knowledge by occult or supernatural means. So literally that's the definition of a reading. A reading is the practice of attempting to foretell future events or discover hidden knowledge by occult or supernatural means. All right? Very basic. So let's get into some of that terminology because oftentimes, when we hear these words, people become afraid when they hear certain words. You know what I'm saying? So the first word that's like a boogeyman is the word occult. What is the definition of occult? Of or relating to magic, astrology, or any system claiming use or knowledge of secret or supernatural powers or agencies. That's all occult means. You find occultism in every religion. The Bible is full of occultism, right? Jesus turning water to wine, Moses turning the staff into a snake, Moses parting the Red Sea. The Bible is full of occultism, right? All of these books are full of occultism, whether you're talking about the Torah, the Quran, the Bible, it's all occultism. Don't let nobody scare you away from the word, because it's just a word. And the word occultism, the word occult means of or relating to magic, astrology, or any system claiming use or knowledge of secret or supernatural powers or agencies. So when y'all be out here talking about, oh, I'm a Cancer, I'm a Leo, that's occultism because astrology falls under the spectrum of occultism. You understand? That's absolutely occultism. Um, oh, I got my moon in Pisces. I got my moon in Taurus. That's occultism. You see what I'm saying? But people don't understand definitions, so you'll be the one looking at a horoscope and afraid of the word occultism. Okay? So when you're using divination, it falls under that spectrum because it's secret knowledge that was passed down by generations from elders, from traditions that are now making their way to you. You see what I'm saying? And that's basically what it is. So let's look at the purpose of a reading, right? The purpose of a reading: to give insight on personal blockages, okay? Give insight into past and present events, or give the likelihood of future events. So these are things of why a person may need a reading. So you might need a reading because you're trying to get a job. And for some reason, you just can't land this job. What is it around you that's creating blockages so that we can shine a light there and you can go get this job? That's the first definition of a reading. Give insight on personal blockages. That can be done in many ways, right? Give insight into past and present events. So you also might go to a diviner, and that person is going to give you basically insight into what's happened in the past and what's happening in the present, so that you can have a picture on what's going on, so that you're not dark and blind in the dark, and you actually have a chance to rectify what's happening around you, okay? And to give a likelihood of future events. So also another purpose of divination is to give the probability of X, Y, or Z happening. All right. This is done basically by looking at the energies around you. So the diviner is able to use various methods of mediumship, and that's a way that they're looking at the energy around you, looking at what's happening, and they're able to discern certain things through that way. All right, so that's basically the basis of what a reading is. All right, let's look at common systems of divination. So these are systems of divination that have been passed down. Usually, they've been around for a long, long time. All right, so a common system of divination, astrology. Astrology is a very, very, maybe the most common form of divination, because you're using the planets in secret knowledge of the planets, right, to be able to get insight into a person's personality, to get insight into a person's past, their present, their future, their blockages. This is all done through astrology, and people don't understand how deep the rabbit hole of astrology goes, because most people only know about their sun sign. But you have multiple different planets with different zodiacs in them. You have a moon sign, you have a Mercury sign, you have a Venus sign, you have a Jupiter. You know what I'm saying? They go all the way down to you got a Lilith sign. You know what I'm saying? So it goes pretty deep. Another one is numerology. Numerology is another big form of divination. So patterns of numbers can give insight and clues into things that are happening around you in current time. All right? And that's numerology. So when you hear people saying, "Oh, I keep seeing 111, I keep seeing 222," these are all divination methods. It's all numerology. You know what I'm saying? When you start talking about soul numbers and things like that, that's all numerology. You feel me? And that's a very common form and a very effective form of divination. You also have a form that I use called the runes. So the runes is another form of divination that's used, where basically you're using the ancient Nordic alphabet to look into the energies around people or to foretell things. So when I do a rune reading, I'm looking into the energy around you, and I'm letting you know what's happening, what recently happened, and what's likely to happen in your very near future. That's me doing a rune reading, and they're very accurate. And even though I practice voodoo, which is in line with my ancestry through my mother's side from Puerto Rico, um, I also practice rune magic, and I use the runes because there's also a side of me that comes from Europe. And when you talk about rune magic, you're talking about a divination system that was used by Germanic pagan tribes, Norse pagan tribes, right? Different pagan tribes in those areas were using the runes. You feel me? So I'm still in line with ancestry. Ancestry is a key component to me in divination because it's how your ancestors speak to you. You know what I'm saying? This is why mostly everybody can use astrology, because the stars and the planets is something that belongs to us all, or we belong to them, right? But then when you start to get specific, there's specific systems of divination that can be in line with your ancestry. Okay? So with me, I like to use runes for divination. Okay? And I use my rune magic, and I cross practice in voodoo because my lineage through really both sides, because if you go through my father's side, that's Black American, it's going to go into Southern roots. And then if you keep going back, it's going to start going into Bantu people, and it's going to start going into Yoruba peoples, right? So when you look at those cultures, they all blended into voodoo in the Caribbean, okay? So It's good when you're doing this stuff to stay as much in line with your ancestry as you can, because that make the messages very clear. And let me tell y'all, my European ancestors be putting me up on game through the runes, okay? And my African ancestors can come right through the runes. They all come through the runes. They let me know what's happening. Um, so also another form is the system of Ifa. The system of Ifa is arguably the most in-depth, specific form of divination, most detailed form of divination that you're probably going to find. When you talk about Ifa, you're talking about a group, a system that mastered divination, utterly mastered it. Okay, um, different forms of African spirituality specialize in different things. Okay, so when you talk about Ifa, Ifa mastered divination. You hear me? Mastered divination. All right, and it's so much to the point that even when you start to look at where Nigeria starts to run into Benin and Togo, or Benin, um, the people that practice voodoo in Benin, the Fan and the Ewe, they mastered the voodoos, the nature spirits. They mastered them, right? But a lot of times they will still go to a Babalawo who's a priest of Ifa to get a divination done. So when we're talking about Ifa, we're talking about Yoruba tradition, Santeria, in the Western world, right? These people master divination, okay? Um, then you have people with empathetic abilities, empaths. Empaths in their self are natural diviners. They can't help but to divine. You see what I'm saying? That's just, it's their blood. They cannot help it. They just feel. And there's different type of empaths. You have animal empaths that feel the pain of an animal. You have the ones that feel the pain of a people, or the emotions of people. You even have empaths that are plant. They can feel the power or the feelings of a plant. So you have empaths that can even feel the forest because they feel in the plants around them. All right. So there's different type of empaths. Another thing that I like to do is water scrying. Water scrying is when you look into a bowl of water and then you can start to develop imagery that is in line with the person you're doing it for. You know what I'm saying? So I might look at the water, and in the water I see something that lets me know that you're going through a breakup. Or I like to use water scrying to look into a person. So the way that people might use astrology to look into the nature of a person is how I like to use water scrying, because the water is connected to the soul, to the emotions. This is why the moon and the ocean are connected. This is why the moon is also associated with your emotions. This is why when you look at like Yemoya, La Siren, these deities are associated with the moon and with the ocean because they rule the soul, the emotional aspect of yourself, the subconscious. Okay? So when I look into the water, I'm getting a glimpse into your subconscious. Alright? So it's very powerful. Water scrying is very powerful. Pendulums. You swing the pendulum. Pendulums are good for yes and no divination. Okay? So you get the pendulum, you hold it, and then you ask it questions and it starts moving. Okay? Now all of this is done, of course, with ritual behind them. Okay? Because most of these systems, you're calling on the astral realm to give you the message. Outside from like astrology, you're using the planets. But even in numerology, when you're seeing 111s and 222s and 256 and all of these numbers, right? That's also ancestral energy coming through to give you that message. That's also the dead coming through to show you something, right? The other forms of divination are more deliberate, where you're calling on nature spirits, or you're calling on ancestral spirits in order to give you insight, like the runes, like the system of E5. You're going to go through a rune lot, right? So, this is what it is. Then you have fire divination, where somebody can light fire and look into the flames and see things in the flames that pertain to your life and tell you. Very old form of divination. That's a very old form of divination that go way back. You feel me? For real, that's very old, raw, basic divination. It's like water scrying. Nostradamus was known to water scry a lot. Dark mirror scrying. That's when you cut the lights off, you light a candle, and you look at that dark mirror. And then you keep looking at it until you start to see things in the mirror that pertain to your life. Now that type of divination might get too deep for some people. Some people might not be ready for all that, because you don't know what you're going to see in that mirror. You know what I'm saying? I can just tell you from someone that water scries, I dark water scry. And some of the things I see in that water will give you chills. When you start to seeing them ancestors moving in that water, and you start to see them ghastly images come to get the messages, it gets real. It gets real. This is real talk. Crystals. All right. So let's talk about crystals and divination. Crystals. All right. You have the gypsy thought, right, of a big crystal ball, where they look into the crystal ball and then they tell you what's happening, right? That old classic fortune teller scene. But also actual crystals. Most people today don't know the true uses of the crystals they wear around their neck. When you talk about the Native Americans that were really using crystals and getting busy with them, they also use crystals for divination. Ancient Native Americans, they would consult the crystal before they started their day. They would literally do divination with the crystal, and this is how they knew how to start their day. So crystals run very deep. Don't get caught up in this new age talk with a crystal. Go look deeper into the crystal. Read books from Native Americans that utilize crystals. Don't read books from new age people with some crystal talk, because that's going to lead you in all kind of directions. Tarot cards. Another very, very, very popular form of divination. Tarot. See? The princess and the frog. The cards never lie. The cards never lie. You know what I'm saying? So this is people using cards as a mediumship to know what's happening in your life. All right? So those are just some of the common forms of divination. There's many more forms of divination. I know people that use cloud scrying. They look into clouds. They get the messages. I know people that use specific areas. Like I know someone that uses the pebbles from the Great Lakes, the little rocks that come on the shore from the Great Lakes in Michigan, and they use those to divine, right? So people have multiple methods of divination. All right. Some people are naturally psychic. You know what I'm saying? So that's what that is. So what you should get from a reading, you should get clarity on the situation. Okay? You should get reassurance on things that you may have had an intuition about, or situations that you had questions about. You should get direction on how to handle the situation. And the last one, you should get solutions. All right? That's a big one, because people be getting divinations done and they just get a reading. They don't get no solution behind it. This is where being a medicine man comes in. This is where being a root woman comes in, a conjure queen, a real witch. Not just titles. The real thing, where you really doing the work. This is where that comes into play. there's multiple methods to give these solutions. Think about it like this. As someone that's a spiritualist, right? You're you're like a doctor, and your job is to give a diagnosis, okay? So you give the diagnosis, you tell the person what's happening, right? This is going wrong, or this is what's taking place. Then after the diagnosis, there should be a prescription, right? After you get diagnosed, you're supposed to get a prescription. This is the part that be missing. When I do a reading for somebody and I look into what's going on and I tell them I'm gonna come with a prescription. Now this prescription might be advice on where to go, how to handle it from this point, or this prescription might be some real work. So it might have started with a reading, and I'm like, yo, you need protection because from what I've seen, you have to be extra cautious about X, Y, and Z. So that might mean that I go to a spirit, because remember I said I practice voodoo. So I might go to a spirit to add on that protection so that this part of the reading doesn't come to fruition. I might see in there, oh, you're having troubles in your relationship. So because I see that you're having troubles in your relationship, now I go to a spirit like Ejuli Freda or La Siren, and I do some work, and now I help to mend that part of your life, which was a catalyst for other parts of your life. You see what I'm saying? This is how readings work. You should have the medicine. If you're a hoodoo worker, when you give the reading, you should have some juju that you can get a person so that they can walk away and do what you told them to do, and it alleviates some of the things that's going to take place that you've seen that may occur in that reading. This is very important because if you never get prescriptions to the diagnosis, you're just going to keep getting readings and you're going to know what's about to happen or what's happening and not be able to do nothing about it. You feel me? That's backwards to me. So understand, when you get a reading, reading should come with prescriptions. Prescriptions. Alright? The word of the day is prescription. Because that's what should be coming with the reading. When I do a reading for somebody, I might have to go to old Goo or something. Man, I might have to get you right because I'm seeing financial troubles. I might have to go to X, Y, and Z. So you know what I'm saying? So that we can get it together. So you don't gotta come back to me. You feel me? That's the point. So you don't gotta come back. So we're gonna get this over with. And that's where medicine men, that's what medicine were. That's medicine men were. That's what shamans were. You would go to the shaman would look and see what's going on, and then the shaman would give you a prescription. Might have been, take this herb this many times, do this, do that, walk to the ocean and leave it this offering. He's going to give you some medicine. That's just what should happen with these type of things. So, that's what it is, family. When it comes to reversing the reading, the key to reversing a reading is to see what's happening within the individual. For all my practitioners, see what's happening within the individual and looking at the details and then saying, all right, this is a key component. This is a key component. What's in my arsenal of spirituality that I can use, that I can refer to the person whether they want it done or not, so that we can alleviate this part of the game and make that part of their life easier. That's what you do as a diviner, as a spiritualist that's doing work for people. Like for instance, with the runes, sometimes I like to reverse the rune reading. If it's bad for somebody, I see negative, I know how to work with the runes in a way where we can twist some things around. Okay? We can twist some things around and transmute this energy. We can move this energy where it need to go. You feel me? For real. But that's something that should be on the table when you're doing divination. Remember, when you're doing a lot of these forms of divination, there's ways to work with the tool itself so that you can alleviate the things that's going on, alleviate the pain, not, or maybe not get rid of it totally, but start the curing process, you know, for real. And that's why it makes sense to cross practice sometimes, you know. Sometimes it makes sense if you know how to throw bones. If you're a person that know how to throw bones, it might make sense for you to be able to throw bones and you're practicing hoodoo. So when you throw the bones and you see what's happening in their person's life, you can refer them some gree bags or whatever it is that you got going on to get right. You know? If you can read tarot, you know what I'm saying? Tarot, and you're a person that is also maybe in voodoo. Now when you see what's happening with the cards, you should be able to say, listen, if you need it, if you feel like this is viable for you, I'm just letting you know I can go to this Loa and get it done. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is how it works. And I'm just letting y'all know, as if you are an upcoming spiritualist or something like that, this also how you keep business going. This how you keep good work and a good reputation in the community. Because not only did you give them a solid reading, you gave them a solid solution. And once people are able to see that you can do that, guess what's going to happen? They're going to keep coming to you and referring you to other people. And you're going to be popping in these streets. You're going to be popping for sure. You know what I'm saying? So that's what it is, man. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. And share this video. Share it to your other spiritual friends who may be in trying to get a spiritual business going and things like that. And keep the knowledge going, man. Keep the words going. Keep the knowledge going. That's what it is, y'all. I love y'all. 100.